In this video, we're going to look at the three different types of percent problem that you'll need to know how to solve. So these are the same ones as you have examples for in the lesson, so you can follow along. And the first type of question is finding the percent of a number, and this is probably the easiest type of question there is. An example might be 28% of the 310 students at the music school took guitar. So how many took guitar? So at this point you could pause the video and try to work this out yourself. So if you pause the video and try to work it out and then come back and see what your answer is. What this question is asking is 28% of 310, and the little word of can be represented by the operation of multiplication. So 28% times 310. Now you can't multiply by a percent until you change it to a decimal. So the decimal equivalent of 28%, or 28 hundredths, is just 28 hundredths, or decimal 28, times 310. So that's an easy one to figure out, 310 times decimal 28. And I just want to back up a step here, because the very first thing we should do is try to estimate. What do you think 28% of 310 is? Well, I know that 28% of 100 is 28. So of 300, it's going to be about 28, 50, 70, 80, around 80, 90, in that range. So when I do my multiplication, I end up with 86 decimal 8. So 86 decimal 8 students took guitar. Now whenever you're working with percents or decimals, you know that there's no such thing as 0.8 of a person. So the answer probably is 87 students took guitar. So you round it off to the next person in this case. Now the second kind of problem you're going to run into is, what percent are you dealing with? So sometimes you're given a number and you need to find out what percent that is. Here's an example of the kind of question you might run into. 115 students at the music school took piano. What percent of the 310 students took piano? So first estimate. Okay, I know that 115 students of 230 would be about 50%. I know it's going to be less than 50%. I round off my 115 to 100, round off my 310 to 300, and I can see it's about a third, or 33%. So it's going to be in that range. So always estimate before you do your calculations. Just stop the video and try to work this out on your own, and then come back when you have an answer. So what this question really is asking you is, if you have 115 students, what percent, or what percent of 310 is that? Okay, so we don't know. Some percent of 310 is equal to 115. Now when we take a look at that, and if you remember from your algebra, so we've got something like 115 is equal to an unknown times 310. So to find our unknown, we divide both sides by 310, and that will give us our unknown. So we can just divide 115 by 310, and that will give us a. That will give us a decimal, and then we have to convert it to a percent. So then your answer is just doing the division, and you end up with an answer like decimal 370, and that you convert it then to a percent, which would be, so we've got decimal 370 converted to a percent. Just move the decimal place over, and your answer would be 37%. So 37%, and remember we estimated around 30-ish, so that's probably a reasonable answer. So 30% of the 310 students took piano. The third type of question you're going to run into is percent of what number. And so an example of that kind of question is 86 students at the music school took violin. This is 42% of the students, of the total students. So how many students at the school? So 86 students took violin, and that's 42%. Estimate first, and please try this on your own. Pause the video and then come back and see the solution. So I'm going to estimate that 86, if 86 is 42%, then it's going to be about double that. So it's going to be, a reasonable answer is going to be in the 160, 170, in that range, I think. So pause the video, try to solve it, and come back for the solution. What this question is really asking you to do is to, you know that 42% of some number, okay, times, remember of is like times, of some unknown number is equal to 86. That's what this question is asking you, to figure out what that unknown is. So again, let's convert the percent to a decimal, 42 hundredths. And our variable, or our unknown, let's use a, so we don't get it mixed up with the x. So our variable of a is equal to 86. So decimal 42a equals 86. Again, to isolate the variable, we're going to divide both sides by decimal 42. So we're going to be left with a on this side, and 86 divided by, decimal 42. And that's going to come out to 204.76. Now again, that would not be your final answer, because you can't have 0.76 of a person. You can't have fractional people. So I would assume that I would round that off to 205. In this case, I would round up to 205 students would be at the school. So those are the three different types of percent problems. Go back over them if you're not sure. Refer to the lesson. It gives you the way of doing it, and try to understand what it is the question is asking, and put it into a format that you can solve it.